Well, it's a really exciting time at the moment for bancassurance professionals in the industry, and there are probably three, from my point of view, very important and possibly long-term trends that we're seeing. The first trend is actually an increasing realisation that you need to generate more fee income from selling non-banking products, and I think this is being driven also by the low interest environment that we have, and banks are not making as much money from their core banking products. The second reason, and this is equally important, is post-2008 we're seeing a lot more emphasis on compliance. So bancassurance professionals are having to show that they're selling the right product at the right time to the right customer. And lastly, and for me this is the most exciting trend that we're seeing, is the trend towards digitisation and mobile. And this is changing customers' behaviour, and it means that customers are coming to the bank less often than they were in the past, and this means that bancassurance professionals need to rethink how they're going to engage with customers on a digital basis as well as face-to-face. Well, for me, by far the most interesting tool at the moment is definitely the tablet. The tablet has gives an opportunity to revolutionise the way that bancassurance is being performed. It's really only in the last 12 months, I think, that professionals are starting to realise the importance of this tool. If we stand back and we say, okay, well, why is the tablet so different? I think we can actually look at perhaps three factors and recognise three factors here that's relevant to the insurance industry. I think the first one is probably to just step back and sort of recognise the genius of Steve Jobs. This man has actually managed to match function and form and create something that actually can be used by a child as young as 3 and someone as old as 80 or 90. So it really has taken away the myth that technology is difficult to use. So really the tablet is so much superior as a customer engagement tool than a laptop. So that's the first reason. Now if you look at the second reason, it's really the tablet gives you the ability to start collecting that data at the right place and at the right time. What this does is it effectively transforms the tablet from being what is perhaps a tactical sales tool into a strategic tool that will drive the business going forward because you have access to this data. And the last reason that it's so useful is actually that it's relatively easy to implement. So unlike most technology which requires massive change to back-end processes, a tablet can be introduced on top of your existing processes, on top of your existing technology. So those are the three reasons why tablets are really useful in bancassurance. Well, the secret for a successful tablet toolkit in bancassurance is essentially to make sure that you create something that the advisors love. And how are you going to do that? Well, you actually create something that they can engage with their customer. So the secret is to put on that tablet toolkit all of the tools that you are going to use to engage with your customer. So in a bancassurance environment, when you're there in front of the customer, you really need access to things like needs analysis and financial planning, your quotation and illustration tools, and then the ability to turn that quotation into a digital proposal and then submit it on the spot. So those are the core functions that you'd expect to see on a tablet toolkit. In addition to that, you need to supplement that with something which I would call a resource centre. And a resource centre is essentially a multimedia toolkit that you have available to you that contains your electronic brochures, your presentations, that help to supplement the information that you provide to the customer throughout that chain. Well, absolutely. I mean, I think what we're seeing here is actually the tablet actually transforming the entire customer experience when they purchase insurance. And let's look at why it is so transformative. I think at the sort of high level, what we're really doing is transforming what can be a rather chaotic sales process into something that is actually very, very simple. So if you look at what we have at the moment, is we have a sort of a multi-meeting, multi-form process, and at the end of that process you're not quite sure whether or not you've actually purchased the policy because you're not sure what the underwriting decision will be. Now that's where we are at the moment. Now with tablets, what you have is an opportunity to essentially create a very clean, simple, one meeting, no paper, completely digital process. At the end of that process you can then send that information to the customer, and then the next day 80% of customers will know whether they're covered or not. So that for me entirely transforms the customer experience. So we're moving from something chaotic to something that is very, very simple. So I think at the end of the day, what we're going to have is happy customers who've actually purchased a solution that they want against an identified need. So it's a win-win for everyone. Well, actually, I think the great news for sales professionals in the bank is that tablet toolkits will help to make their job a lot easier. And let's look at how this is going to be easier. So there's three reasons for this. The first one is it's going to be easier to be able to learn how to use a tablet toolkit, because with a tablet toolkit you have a much more defined process, and therefore it's much easier to learn how to follow that process. And in fact, tablet toolkits are an ideal medium upon which you can actually train people as well. So you can actually put training materials on the toolkit so that the advisor can actually refer to those materials before they go and see a customer. So obviously easy to learn is the first reason. Second one is actually a simple one, which is it's going to be easier to sell more. So because you've actually got this tool that allows you to identify real customer needs and then to match those needs with solutions, the advisor will actually experience a higher average case size and a higher closing rate. That will transfer to more productivity. And of course, you're also going to have faster closing. So that means that you can potentially see more customers. So basically, when you take identification of needs, so higher case size, with higher closing rates and with more time to see more customers, you really can see how productivity will increase with a tablet toolkit. And the last reason is it's much easier to reach your customers. So as those customers become more digital, they don't visit the bank as often, you can take your toolkit to the customer. And obviously at the cutting edge, what we're seeing is some banks are actually feeding segmented data to their advisors and giving them essentially a list of customers that they can go and contact on a daily basis. So the tablet allows the advisor to be mobile and to be effective anytime, anywhere. Well, I think there's a whole host of additional benefits that banks will see from using tablet toolkits, and perhaps we can just discuss two or three of those. I think the first is in the area of compliance, and with a tablet toolkit, essentially you just have a superb compliance tool. So with the tablet toolkit you can define the process. That's one advantage. The second advantage, of course, is you can monitor that process. Now, compared to the existing paper-based process, this is a huge transformation in compliance. So that's one good reason. The other good reason is around data. So a tablet toolkit will allow you to not only get more data, but it will allow you to get more accurate data. And when you have this data electronically, you can get a much deeper understanding of the customer. So if we take, for example, the fact find or financial plan, once you've done that properly on a tablet toolkit, you have a rich set of data which will help you to identify other customer needs and therefore be able to sell more products in the future. Also, with this sort of fact find in place, you've actually got a mechanism by which you can go back to the customer every year and do an annual financial review. So you can go back and connect with your customer and build genuine long-term relationships. I think perhaps the last thing about tablet toolkits is more that when banks start to see how this works in an insurance environment, they will start more aggressively using them to transform core banking functions as well.